The fact of the matter is that on each given day that we played and lost, they played better than we did. And when it's over, there are no redos. I've always believed that life is about taking one step at a time, and every time you take a step, you'd like to be able to take it forward, moving toward whatever it is your goals are. God gives you no assurances that you're going to get wherever it is that you aspire to be. If you go into that arena, there's only going to be one that comes out happy. We ended up being the unhappy one. Do I like it? Hell no, I don't like it, but that's what it is. And you know what? You learn how to deal with that kind of stuff, because that's what life's all about.
You're going to be a football player when you grow up.
Today is the best day of your life. Believe me.
He might be the finest quarterback produced in the last 10 years.
He's a daylight. That's all I need.
Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my life, didn't lose my job.
Football convinced me that life is a team game.
Rest of your life, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do
it. There it is, girls. Eat your heart out. Look at that.
Papa, those are some sexy glasses you got.
Honey, was he a hunk?
He was a hunk.
How'd you take that photo?
I stood on a chair and jumped off the chair and dunked the basketball. Win if you can, lose if you must, but find a way to get it done. There's a gleam, men. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
For 30 years as an NFL coach, Marty Schottenheimer chased after a world championship.
When you look at that trophy, there's a reflection in that trophy. Ultimately, there's a gleam, man, that this is our goal.
Perhaps he's remembered most for the ones that got away. But as head coach of the Browns, Chiefs, Redskins, and Chargers, he won over 200 games.
At the end of the day, what you hope for is that you hope that you did your best, and then trust that in the fact that if you did your best, you're probably going to prevail.
Papa can win the game right here.
You want me to end it now?
Close it out. Game-winning shot.
Marty!
Our state championship basketball team got 10 points and 14 rebounds a game out of your old man.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Marty grew up in western Pennsylvania, not far from Joe Namath. The two became friends on a college recruiting trip.
We hit it off pretty good right from the get-go, and Marty ended up with the Buffalo Bills, and of course I was with the Jets, and we got to play each other a couple times a year.
Yellow Dog 4?
No, that was 6-1.
Oh, 61.
Our friendship grew in the off-season. Being two Pennsylvania guys ending up in Miami in the sunshine, we spent a lot of time together golfing, fishing. The big meal was at home. Pat would cook us some lasagna, would have a little salad, a couple pieces of bread.
Joe is a very, very charismatic man. And I used to tease Marty and tell him Joe was the only other man that could eat crackers in my bed.
That's all. I mean, that's good. I wouldn't be eating any crackers in bed, by the way.
I think my wife, if she could have found a way to dump me, should have been after Joe.
You know what? Joe. Don't feel bad about that. I'm sure there's a lot of women that were like that.
Pat was a beauty, and she may still be. I haven't seen her for a few years. But, you know, if I'd met her before Marty and I wouldn't have developed any friendship.
In 1965, it was Marty who got the girl, while on a spring break trip in Florida.
I said, would you like to go out for dinner tonight? And she said, well, yeah, that'd be fine.
And he came at the appropriate time, and there was a knock on the door. And he said, hi, I'm Marty. Is Patty here? I'm the only one here right now. I said, they'll be back in about half an hour if you'd like to come back. Okay, I'll do that. And he left.
Pat in this bathing suit, two-piece, hot orange, dynamite. And the fact of the matter is that I never really looked above her neck, maybe once or twice the whole time we were together on the beach. So that's kind of the reason that I gave her that I failed. Of course, it annoys the heck out of her when I tell the story, but that's the truth.
Schottenheimer won a championship his very first year with the Bills, but the length of his career wasn't as long as the name on his jersey. After 6 years of playing professional football, he started to look for another line of work.
I was going to be a real estate baron, and the only baron I got was B-A-R-R-E-N, baron.
Yeah.
No money.
Eventually, he decided to try coaching. His first job was with the Portland Storm of the World Football League, which went bankrupt.
We had no money. We didn't get paid. Pat's mother sent us cash for Christmas that year so we could afford to buy Christmas gifts for our children. I mean, it was a mess.
I was working 9 to 5, and he was home babysitting the children. It was a very hard time for him. We sent letters out to everybody in the NFL, every college that had an opening, and at the same time he was changing diapers, fixing lunch. I think his confidence was just at the bottom.
After a chance meeting with Giants head coach Bill Arnsparger, Schottenheimer's life changed forever.
He said, Marty, I'd like you to come to work for the New York Giants. And that's how it started. We were that far from the bottom.
He said to me, you know, I can't believe this. They're paying me American dollars to support my family, to do something I love and something that I'm really good at. And I thought, okay, here we go.
Coming up,
Marty Ball.
You know, we're going to run power, and then we're going to pick them up, and we're going to run it again, and we're just going to keep running it until we wear them out.
Light the ignition, men. Light the ignition. Let's get this rocket ship going up now. The peak of the mountain's in sight. You gotta keep climbing. Do not underestimate the power of the human will. Go back!
He would always say, you know, I'm just an English major. Well, that English degree allowed him to communicate with his players.
Marty Schottenheimer's pep talks are legendary. But nothing says Marty better than the brand of football that came to define him.
I think most people, they look at me and they say, well, Marty Ball.
Lindy, any thought about trying to run a little bit?
Run the ball.
We're going to keep pounding, wear them down, grind them in the damn dirt. Power, football. That's Marty Ball. You run it, then run it, and then run it again. And then, okay, we can throw a pass. But after that pass, let's run it, and then run it, and run it again. That's Marty Ball, to wear you down. Marty once told me that When he's dead and gone, he wants power on his tombstone because that was his favorite play.
Power roll. They got the guard around.
You knew it was going to be a physical game, and that's how Marty loved it. That's Marty ball.
That little 51 can't handle me. He's a little boy.
Tough, downhill, smash mouth football, and I tell you, it worked.
Stay after him. Wear him down. Break him. Break him.
At the end of the day, Marty ball is finding out what your players do best and do that. Run it if that's what you do best, which is generally what we did best. If the passing game is far better than the running game, then do that.
Bernie Kosar beat the blitz.
Take that blitz and stick it up your Jerry Glanville.
That gives you a far greater chance of succeeding at the task. It's all about winning.
Schottenheimer was confident in his ability. In 1984, when Browns head coach Sam Rutigliano was fired after a 1-7 start, Schottenheimer, the defensive coordinator, refused the interim head coaching job.
Well, Art, I said, I'm flattered that you would offer me this opportunity, but I'm not interested in a job on an interim basis.
And Art said, what do you mean? He said, I'm not coaching this team for a half a season. He said, the players are going to know that I'm not guaranteed to be back next year. They're not going to listen to me. I'm not going to be able to motivate them. I'm not taking it. Get somebody else. So Art said to me, the kitchen. So we go out into the kitchen. He said, what do you think? I said, don't call us bluff. I said, frankly, that stand even impresses me more. So he did. He gave him a 3-year contract.
Marty Ball was born. Cleveland won 4 of its last 7 games and captured 3 consecutive division titles.
Kosar fakes a handoff to Dickey, going to throw, wants all of it, deep down the left side, Slaughter open, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, touchdown Browns! And the Browns are the AFC Central Division champions.
But in the postseason, something always seemed to go wrong. In his first playoff game, Schottenheimer watched a 21-3 third-quarter lead vanish against the defending AFC champions.
We're an 8-8 team that got into the playoffs. We had a pretty good team, and I think that you could see that we were building something.
The next year, Schottenheimer's Browns won the AFC's top seed, but suffered one of the most agonizing defeats in football history. The drive.
And the Broncos are 98 yards away from where they need to go.
Actually, it's not even at the 2.
No, about the 1.5.
You know, thinking, okay, with this defense that we had at that time, there's no chance of Denver going 98 yards.
20-13 Browns. The look, the throw, touchdown! John Elway has just thrown the touchdown to Mark Jackson, 98.5-yard drive.
We let it slip away from us. It was the first one. I mean, you know, the first difficult loss, and we've had a number of those.
The following season, Cleveland stormed back from a 21-3 halftime deficit and was just 8 yards from tying the game.
Inside the 5 to the 4 to the 3 to the 2. He fumbles the football and the Broncos have it. Denver has it at the 2-yard line. He was so close to getting in for a touchdown.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't seem fair.
Perhaps it just wasn't meant to be.
I remember vividly the next morning. My phone rang. I was in the office. He didn't even say hello. He said, you better not be down, because if you are, I'm going to come down there and kick your butt. Let's go, okay? It's over. So that's how great he was. I mean, me, I was still, you know, wallowing in depression after that loss. He was ready to go to work the next morning.
Up next,
People would call. One call was that they were going to come. They knew we had an Irish setter named Brandy, and they were going to come and kill the dog. My children.
Back-to-back losses in the AFC Championship led to frustration in Cleveland, and a sluggish start in 1988 made matters worse. For the Schottenheimers, the backlash hit close to home.
The house would get egged, and there were, people would send hate mail.
Your dad's a bum, your dad should be fired. Just hurtful things. It's your dad.
The one that was frightening was against Brian. He was in junior high school playing on the basketball team, and they said they knew where Brian played basketball and they were going to shoot him. And it was all because Marty didn't win such and such a game or something totally ridiculous. It was so many times it was hard to send you to school after a loss.
Oh, Mom and I used to talk about it, are the kids going to be okay with this?
We've always been at our best when we're together.
Give me the fist.
All right, there we go.
Your fingers are only so strong, but when you get your hand, you squeeze them together. That's the power of the fist.
When things get tough, Kristen, Brian, Pat, Marty, whichever the dog may be, the fist.
Together, there's nothing will separate us. And so it's a big part of how we got through a lot of those situations.
Early that year, the Browns' offense was struggling. Many blamed Schottenheimer, who had assumed play-calling duties prior to the season.
He has really functioned as the offensive coordinator since Lindy and Fatty went to Green Bay.
A lot of people in Cleveland don't like that.
In my opinion, it was a mistake. And on top of not having experience doing that, then we ended up with a bunch of quarterback changes.
We ended up with 6 quarterback injuries. 2 of them got hurt twice.
The last one being Don Stracco. I think they got off the golf course.
That's exactly where we found him, on a golf course in Florida.
Now you have a situation where you got one quarterback who's not used to playing in the cold because he played so long in Miami.
Strock might not be used to playing, period.
That's true.
Nevertheless, with Strock, we ended up getting a wild card berth and losing a playoff game to Houston by 1 point on Christmas Eve. It was one of the great coaching jobs in the history of this league.
When you consider that they went from Kosar to Danielson to Pagel to Strock to Kosar to Strock to Pagel, it's kind of remarkable they even went into the playoffs.
It wasn't enough for owner Art Modell, who wanted to shake up the coaching staff.
He wanted Marty to relieve his brother of his duties. Now, that's a tough situation, and hire an offensive coordinator. Well, Marty didn't want to make any changes. In my job, I should have been able to keep the peace there, and I failed that. And they ended up just agreeing to part, and Marty had a job within 24 hours.
All right, men, let's go. Let's meet our standard or exceed it. Coach Dungy, you're the most flexible DB we have out here.
Marty was the most detail-oriented coach I've ever been around.
You were short on your route. That is a 16-yard route.
The difference between being lined up at 9 yards, like the book said, and 9.5, might be the difference in stopping a play for a first down.
You don't stop at the 5-yard line, or I'll put somebody else in the game to score the touchdown.
He wanted everything to be perfect and precise every single time.
All right, here we go.
I'll never forget, we was on the field for 3 hours one time, and then he said, you know what, we're going to take it from the top. And he started over from one lap around the field to the stretching. So we practiced 6 hours. But that's Marty ball.
Coaches like Tony Dungy and Bill Cowher were held to the same standard.
Make sure we got 11 out there, Tony. Count them.
Billy, young quarterback, mix your coverages, including your blitz. Mix some zone in there from time to time.
Everyone had a responsibility, and you were held accountable for that.
Gotta stop him, Billy. Mix it up, Billy. Now listen to me, Billy. One play at a time, Billy. Billy, are you allergic to zones?
He was going to make sure you had your bases covered, but it was all about trying to find ways to get that going.
The turnaround was swift. Prior to his arrival, the Chiefs had 2 winning seasons in 15 years. In the 90s, no coach won more games than Marty Schottenheimer.
Hit at the goal line, ball charge free, touchdown Kansas City.
Christian, get your pads down and make a hole if there isn't one.
You know, it became another place where, with Christian Okoye and Barry Ward, we became a defensive running football team.
The Nigerian Nightmares, steamrolling, bulldozing, he would not be denied.
That's the way to go. Didn't come here to f***ing play patty cake.
The offense changed some in 1993 when the Chiefs traded for 37-year-old quarterback Joe Montana.
How are you, sweetheart?
That was the Beatles landing. I mean, it was so huge in Kansas City.
Talking all week about Montana. Montana's in town, baby.
Are you all right? You're not going to fire my ass if you go down, because I promised them you were from Western Pennsylvania and you wouldn't go down.
Part of that equation, too, we acquired in free agency Marcus Allen at the same time. All of a sudden, Joe and Marcus just took everything to another level.
And folks, as they say, this could be the start of something big.
Allen and Montana were the 2 biggest names on a playoff-bound team, followed closely by Schottenheimer.
They love you, baby. They love you. That guy really likes you.
I couldn't go any place and say my name and not have people know, oh, are you Marty's wife? Oh, you.
The name they once had to defend with a fist had now inspired a polka.
Hey, buddy boy, you don't know anything about the Schottenheimer polka, do you?
Schottenheimer polka.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Marty, this dance is for you.
Schottenheimer, Schottenheimer, Schottenheimer polka. Marty's game plan is the baddest, that's no joker.
You're looking at exclusive video of Monica's dancing dad performing the Schottenheimer polka.
He had a polka song.
And it was catchy, it was kitschy, it was fun.
1, 2, 3, kick, split, and 3, nick.
Schottenheimer, Schottenheimer, Schottenheimer polka. Marty's game plan is the baddest.
That's no joker.
Very popular in Kansas City. Around Christmas, all they played were polkas. And of course, every 5th polka was the Schottenheimer polka.
Schottenheimer polka, I love you.
Fourth and goal. Back to pass Montana. Cocks his arm. Looks right. No one there. Looks left. Throws in the end zone. The quarterback with the Hollywood name has done it again.
In the playoffs, the Chiefs came from behind twice to beat the Steelers and then the Oilers, a team favored to win the Super Bowl.
Double tight end. Handoff. Marcus over the middle. First down. 120. 6, 8, 15, 10. 5 touchdowns. Gotta love this game. Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
6 years after he had done it with Cleveland, Schottenheimer was back in the AFC Championship with a team capable of winning it all.
This is the finest football team I've ever been around, but I want one more thing out of you. I want you to kill them with kindness and dignity. Kill them with kindness and dignity. We leave them some dignity because they'll watch us play next Sunday on
Marty Schottenheimer led the Chiefs to 9 consecutive winning seasons, but he endured another string of devastating playoff defeats.
Is that Montana who's down? He's down. Montana is down.
This is the season right here.
And his kick is up and it sails wide to the left, no good. Glenn Elliott misses his 3rd field goal of the game.
Gerbeck, this is 4th and 2.5. This is the game.
There was a lot of indecision there at the end that I think hurt Kansas City, and we ran off about 18 seconds there doing nothing.
Marty always had this sort of postseason gathering where you would meet with the reporters, and he goes, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what am I doing wrong? Can you, I don't know. It was just so clear he was lost. He was devastated, and he blamed himself. But I think that was a moment right there in '97 when he went, something is never going to happen for me unless I change.
The midnight rule came about when Brian was playing his sophomore year. He had to take over as the starting quarterback, and he was in the back seat coming home from a game, and he was moaning and he was complaining. And I said, enough. Enough. You can feel sorry for yourself and you can complain until midnight, and then it's over. And then you have to start and get working on next week's game.
In 1998, Schottenheimer needed the midnight rule more than ever. He suffered his first ever losing season. The Chiefs uncharacteristically led the league in penalties, and many thought Schottenheimer had lost the team.
Kansas City has just completely lost their marbles.
This is not a Marty Schottenheimer team to be this dirty.
Unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalty, unnecessary act, 15-yard. A blow to the head with a forearm, first down.
He lost, I think, some of his values and lost some of what made him a great coach, and they really fell apart.
I have decided to step down as head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs and step away from coaching.
I was kind of burnt out. I mean, that you know, I found myself uncomfortable with myself. And it was the biggest mistake I ever made in football.
Okay, let's go, gentlemen. Oh, short. Story of my life. Don't hit the ball. Swing the club hits the ball. You just go like this and like this. Yeah, like open the door, close the door. All right, son. Tempo.
I'm old enough you can't coach me anymore. He's always coaching. As I got a little bit older and actually could compete with him, the rule was, look, you can't say anything to me. Don't tell me about my backswing. Don't tell me about loosening my grip. Say nothing.
The club hits the ball. You swing the club. I'm done coaching.
Yeah, right.
For the first time in over 3 decades, Schottenheimer wasn't coaching football.
Do whatever they like with it.
Well, how about an owner like Daniel Snyder? And when I say that, I mean a man who's notorious for his hands-on approach with the team. Could you work for somebody like Daniel Snyder?
No, I don't think so. Our styles of operation are very different.
But when Redskins owner Daniel Snyder offered him both head coaching and general manager duties, it was an opportunity he couldn't resist.
The organization is set up in such a way that I report to Daniel, and if indeed we have an impasse, then I ultimately will make that choice. Is that accurate, Dan?
That's very accurate.
Schottenheimer had total control, but his obsession with detail didn't sit well with some future Hall of Famers.
One of the things Marty does is he treats all the players the same. It doesn't matter if you're the $50 million quarterback or if you are, you know, the special teams kid.
He didn't treat everybody the same. That's not true. He tried to make me as an example.
Bend your knees, Daryl. Drop your ass on the ground. Get your ass on the ground. Keep your ass down, Daryl. Too high. Get your ass down.
The most painful part to me was he did it in front of Rashad and Champ and all these kids who Dad here is their example.
The thing with Darryl Green, I didn't waste a moment's time on worrying about, you know, what his issues were. The thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to go practice mistakes.
I'm not going to waste my time anymore concerned about, you know, what the coach is going to do or say. And I'm really sick of it, actually, if you want to know the truth about it. You're going to go us 2 days every day, no days off for 8-10 days. I think it's idiotic.
They're extremely difficult. Probably the hardest training camps that I had ever been exposed to. I got hurt more in this particular training camp than I ever did in the history of my career.
His wife made a comment to me, you know, I don't know why you guys won't support him. And I told her this, your husband doesn't realize that we're not in Kansas anymore.
Schottenheimer remained steadfast, but the Redskins started 0-5.
It took us the first 5 games to start understanding how we had to fit into the system. He was extremely consistent. He continued teaching, even under those adverse circumstances. And as a result of that, we played extremely well in the second half of the season.
Washington won 8 of its last 11 games.
I'll tell you what, it's the best coaching job we ever did. Better than any of those championship teams, you know, those division championship teams that we had.
Quite frankly, I thought I was going to be able to keep him as my head coach, but I actually had him over my home and said, hey, Marty, what I want to do is break up the 2 roles. I don't think you can be GM and head coach. And he said, well, that won't fit. And we parted ways.
I have great respect for the privilege of ownership. However, the opportunity to determine the composition of the Washington Redskins roster was the single most important element in my decision to accept this position.
It wasn't the first time Schottenheimer clashed with an owner over organizational control, and it wouldn't.
One play at a time has always been my theme. One play at a time.
One play at a time.
One play at a time.
Just taking it one play at a time.
Always one play at a time.
One play at a time for as long as it takes.
So that you can focus on the task for the next thing and not worry about the result from the last one.
Look at me, Derek. You got to forget it. If you don't forget it, it'll gnaw at you. It'll take away your ability to do what you need to do in the overtime. And know what I'm talking about, okay?
It's a mantra born of experience. From Schottenheimer's last stop in the AFL, learned at the creaky knees of old friend Joe Namath.
We're playing in Shea Stadium, and Joe Namath goes back to pass, and he can't find anybody open. And so Joe Namath starts to, quote, scramble, dragging that one leg behind him as he's going. And so I drop out of my coverage and come up to try to tackle him, and he gives me a little move, and I whiff him. I go nose down, face mask into the dirt.
I'm glad he remembers that. You see, had Marty done that to me, I'd never heard the end of it. I knew that stuck. I knew that was going to stick in his craw.
I mean, I'm so angry with myself. It carried over to the next play, and I messed that one up. And it came to another play in this drive, and I messed that one up. I let that affect me throughout every subsequent play in that drive.
The hand off to Snell, and he's in there. Snell scores.
I didn't get over it, but it taught me a great lesson. One play at a time. It's like life. You live today. Live it to the fullest, because you can't do a thing about yesterday.
This is the foot that
Marty Schottenheimer brought his foundational approach to San Diego in 2002.
Learn from that error and go ahead and do it the right way now, huh? Learn from that error.
Unlike Washington, the young Chargers were more accepting of the Schottenheimer gospel.
Expect to win. Every time you walk out that door to play the game, doesn't matter the arena, you expect to win.
That was the way he motivated you and made you believe that together you can become something great.
We got us! We don't need anybody! We got us! Let's go have some damn fun. Let's play ball.
I give Marty so much credit as far as my maturation as a quarterback in this league.
What happened on the interception?
Underthrew it.
Underthrew it.
Yeah.
We're doing good. We've had the ball. We've had time of possession. We've got to keep wearing down. That's all we can do, all right?
And he benched me 3 times. But there were times where I needed that. That was part of my growth.
If this was a one-score game, your ass would be out there, but I'm not putting you at risk in this situation. You hear me?
I was still his guy, and I felt that all the way through, so I love him for that.
Let's go, Breezy!
And that carried over to 2004 when we had one of our better seasons.
Behind Drew Brees, the Chargers made the playoffs, and Schottenheimer was voted Coach of the Year.
4-12 to 12-4, worst to first. How sweet it is!
Marty Ball was back, and everyone in San Diego loved it. Everyone except for one key person.
Another year in San Diego means another year of his non-relationship with general manager A.J. Smith.
He had issues with me, about me. I don't know, maybe it was because he didn't hire me.
As best I can tell, AJ got to a point where he didn't trust Marty.
I didn't like the guy. It wasn't a very pleasant environment, but I was on one side of the building, he was on the other.
AJ also believed Marty was a guy who liked to hear himself talk. Thought he was too chummy at times with the media, and he didn't like that.
AJ and I never talked. I went in and asked him to talk about something. He said, I don't want to talk about it. What the hell am I going to go back and talk to him again?
The relationship bottomed out when Drew Brees was not re-signed after the 2005 season.
Never told Marty. Marty didn't know. Marty found out on TV. Now, what does that tell you?
If Drew had not gotten hurt, would they have kept him around one more year? That's the unknown question. But Phillip Rivers was AJ's guy, and Phillip Rivers was going to play at some point.
Rather than dwell on what happened, Marty took his own advice.
Just play one play at a time. That's all you got to do.
That's the football.
In 2006, the Chargers win 14-2, best in the NFL. Schottenheimer won his 200th game. It was time to put his playoff demons to rest.
You got to beat the team that's won it all 3 times in the last 5 years. You got to beat New England.
Stay in the moment. One play at a time. Let's go kick some ass.
And you had Danian Thomason, who was running the ball really well the first half. Thought we got away from the run a little bit. I think that we should have played more Marty ball.
Instead, the conventional coach turned riverboat gambler.
4th and 11 now. 4th down. Go for it. Go for it, Cam. Go for it. Go for it, Cam. You're on the 30-yard line, coach.
The 4th and 11, it was, a bit weird for Marty.
Get an offensive play ready. We're going for it. We're going for it on 4th down. You can't make a field goal from right here? That is right on the mark.
But maybe at that time, Marty was thinking he needed to do something different.
He said, hey, look, I believe in you guys. I believe in my players. And you know what? We didn't execute.
Instead, Draper forces the fumble, and the Patriots are taken over.
Damn it!
It was so out of character, but they were so talented that they were able to overcome that. And if not for the bonehead play at the end, they still win that game.
Brady gets it away. It is bobbled and picked off. Marlon McCree. The Chargers have the ball back.
Oh, I think McCree fumbled it.
Oh,
and the
New
Patriots
England.
ball on it.
New England's got it back at the 32. McCree dropped it as he was hit.
At the end of the game, you're winning the game. You don't need to make a play. Fall down. The game's over.
But instead, he gets knocked out and fumbled, and now New England gets it back and ends up winning the game. And now all of a sudden, it's Marty Schottenheimer's fault, which is so ridiculous.
It was stupid. Put it on me. I'm his coach, and he... No, you can't control him all the time.
Having worked with Marty, I know that had to eat at him because I know they've covered that situation. That's something that we practiced.
And it's something Schottenheimer emphasized right before the game.
Make sure now when you get the interception at the end of the game that wins it, you just go down on the ground and the hell with all that running around, all right?
Patriots have won the game. It is a shell-shocked crowd here as the sun sets in San Diego.
1 month after the loss to the Patriots, 1 month after finishing with the best record in his career, Marty Schottenheimer was fired.
It's unconscionable that a head football coach gets relieved of his command after he's 14-2. It's got to be the only time in the history of the NFL that I know of.
We need to figure out as an organization and team to make headway in postseason.
It was a very unique situation to be in where you're actually winning on the field, but yet your general manager and head coach were not seeing eye to eye. Ultimately, we couldn't continue.
It just didn't work. I think Dean was tired of the dialogue and decided to go in another direction.
I was furious. I felt like the organization was breaking the team apart, and that was very unfair.
You'd like to think that when you do it well enough to get to the playoffs that many times, you ought to be able to do a better job, and we didn't. We clambered at the bottom of the rung where we could see it, but we couldn't get to it.
Coming up.
You're going to sharpen some sticks? With what are you going to sharpen them? Wait a minute now. Does Grandma know you have a pocket knife?
Hi there, Jen Brown here. We'll be live in studio immediately following A Football Life for Backstory with Marty Schottenheimer and his lovely wife, Pat. Now, Coach Jim Trotter, who we saw in the documentary, he sent us a tweet. He said, "The fact of the matter is one of Marty Schottenheimer's favorite sayings." So, Pat, let me ask you, you guys have been married for 47 years. What is Coach's favorite go-to saying?
The fact of the matter is...
Do you agree with Jim?
I agree totally with Jim. The other one is, I'm an English major.
I'm an English major.
Yeah, and then he goes on.
And it certainly came in handy. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be live. We've also got Carl Peterson and Lorenza Neal. They'll be joining us in studio. And don't forget to send us your questions and comments using hashtag #AFootballLife. We'll see you at the top of the hour.
Bottom line, did they ask you who the boss was?
I think we talked about who was in charge. It was clearly Mom.
Yeah, no doubt. Sorry, bro.
Hey, I admit. What do you think? I'm stupid? I do what I'm told.
Marty?
Yes, ma'am.
Just on the puppy.
Okay.
All the players through all the years have always called her Big Pat because she definitely wears the pants.
Well, I think we're going to the house first. We don't do anything without talking with the Secretary of War. I don't mean to sound like I'm submissive. I'm not submissive, but the reality of it is that she drives this wagon that is the Schottenheimer life. This could drive you back to coaching.
Marty Schottenheimer has a big heart.
It's time to let the heart beat. Our heart on 3. Let's go.
It's something he always looked for in his players.
When you step across the white stripe, the only thing that matters is that 6 inches between your backbone and your breastbone. And let's just remember one thing as we leave here today.
Charger's heart. You could tell whenever he was speaking to you that it was coming from the heart. And many speeches would come to tears.
Even if there's no one in it, a house is a house. But it becomes a home when you fill it with people you care about.
He could give you a passionate speech on peanut butter, and he would well up. But I love the guy for it because he conveyed to you a passion for football.
Hey, let's go. This is football, man. This is why we're out here.
San Diego was Schottenheimer's last stop in the NFL. But his legacy lives on through his son Brian, the offensive coordinator for the Rams, and previously the Jets.
And look at that. Look where we are now. We got to go get us a damn Super Bowl, period.
That would be unbelievable. I'd love more than anything to give my father my Super Bowl ring. That would mean more to me than anything. Yeah. And I'd make him take it.
In the 2009 playoffs, Brian Schottenheimer's Jets faced his father's old team.
Tell Sean Green to get his pads down and be ready to cram it.
The touchdown that put the Jets ahead and the 4th down conversion that sealed the win were both versions of Marty's favorite play.
All right, let's get the first, baby. Let's go. We're going for it.
The minute he said we're going for it, there was no question it was going to be 40 blast. Power was another way of saying it, but it was one of those plays that throughout the years, Ernest Biner, Marcus Allen, when they were in a gotta-have-it situation, they were all running that play.
Power O ought to be a good play.
4th down and under a yard to go. Sanchez gives for Jones, running right. He's got it! 1st down! That's a football game! That's New York Jet football! That's New York Jet football!
It was pretty special. We had not only won, but we won with a play that my dad just loved. Afterwards, I wanted to call him. And the first thing that came to my mind when he said hello was, "This one's for you."
Hey, Coach.
How are you?
How you doing, sir? Good
Not
to see
bad
you.
for an old guy.
At the age of 67, Schottenheimer returned to coaching with the Virginia Destroyers of the ill-fated United Football League.
When he took that job, I said, "What in the hell are you doing?" And he said, I miss it. I love teaching football.
He brought together all these people who weren't getting paid, who Marty was paying out of his own pocket, even though he wasn't getting paid, and he won a championship. Great for him.
Yes, sir. Thanks very much.
Schottenheimer had found his gleam, but it was a far cry from the white whale he chased for 30 years in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he was jinxed. Marty didn't tell Ernest Biner to fumble. Marty didn't tell Lynn Elliott to miss those field goals. Marty didn't tell the guy to stay up. Those sorts of things shouldn't all happen to the same guy, you know?
I kind of look at it the other way, that you look at that regular season record and what he got out of teams that maybe weren't as talented.
I mean, he's one of only 5 coaches to ever win 200 games. That's a major, major accomplishment, and you don't do that by luck. I think he's a great coach. I really do. Unfortunately, I don't think he's ever going to get his full due.
I think the worst thing anybody can do is spend time worrying about something that they missed out on. Disappointment, sure, but I never let it consume me.
I am totally turned around because I wasn't paying attention.
We're headed almost due west, baby. It's been a great journey. I'm very proud of what we were able to do in our coaching career.
He touched and influenced so many people along the way. The people that have coached under him, Tony Dungy, myself. There's a piece of him that's in all of us.
One play at a time. One play at a time.
As good of a head coach he was, I think he's a better person.
I've got a grandson.
I know he's an amazing father and grandfather.
Little Papa kisses!
I tell Brandon, my 12-year-old, if you ever have a question of who you are, you look at your papa, because he is the most incredible man that I know. And I want you to grow up to be just like him.
It's hard for even an old English major like me to put it into words. You only got so much time with all of them. And boy, you better cherish it and take advantage of it. These little kids that run around here and their parents, that's a joy of a lifetime. A joy of a lifetime.